video includes an in-service guide for the iReach Magnum-powered stapler. It is not intended as a training guide for surgery. Always refer to the instruction for use manual in the packaging for complete instructions, contraindications, warnings and precautions. Nomenclature. Cut mark. Cartridge alignment slot. Cartridge jaw. Anvil jaw. Proximal mark. Articulation joint. Shaft. Articulation lever. Rotation knob. Knife reverse switch. Safety release button. Anvil release button. Battery pack. Firing trigger. Closing trigger. Battery light. Manual override. Staple retaining cap. Cartridge. Alignment tab. Check the package of the stapler as well as those of the reloads for their integrity. Do not use if the seal is broken or damaged. To install the battery pack, first confirm the alignment of the battery pack with the device. Insert. An audible click can be heard and the battery light will light up. After procedure, squeeze the release tabs and pull the battery pack out. Before loading the cartridge, ensure that the jaws are open and the articulation joint is straight, not articulated. Ensure staple retaining cap on the cartridge is in place. Do not use the cartridge if the staple retaining cap is missing. Slide the cartridge against the top of the jaw until the cartridge alignment tab snaps in the cartridge alignment slot. Remove the staple retaining cap. Ensure that the jaws are open and the articulation joint is straight, not articulated. Hold the end part of the cartridge jaw and push the front tip of the cartridge with thumb to unsnap it from the cartridge jaw. Wash and remove any stray staples in saline before installing a new cartridge. To articulate, rotate the articulation lever to achieve a maximum angle of 55 degrees. To rotate, spin on the fins of the rotation knob. Do not articulate or rotate when the jaws are closed. To close the jaws, squeeze the closing trigger until it locks and an audible click heard. The firing trigger will be exposed once the closing trigger is closed. To open the jaws, squeeze and maintaining pressure on the closing trigger, then simultaneously press the anvil release button. Slowly release pressure on the closing trigger until the jaws are fully opened. Position the device close to the tissue to be stapled. Close the jaws by squeeze the closing trigger until it locks and an audible click heard. It is recommended to wait for 15 seconds an audible note before pulling the firing trigger for optimal staple formation. Press the safety release button. To fire, pull and maintain pressure on the firing trigger. When the firing process is finished, the motor will come to a complete stop and an audible sound heard. Release the firing trigger. The motor will return its initial position and an audible sound heard. The jaws can now be opened. Do not place tissue to be stapled at the proximal or distal end of the jaws. Position the tissue to be stapled in the middle sections of the jaws lying flat and avoid any bunching. The jaws can only be opened when the blade is in its initial position. If the jaws cannot be opened by pressing the anvil release button, press knife reverse switch to ensure the knife blade indicator is at its initial position. If the device is unresponsive, pressing knife reverse switch, and the battery pack had been replaced and still not responsive, remove the access panel labeled manual override on the top of the instrument handle. The reset lever and the forced return lever will be exposed. Pull the reset lever, marked 1, perpendicular to the instrument handle, move the return lever, marked 2, forward and backward until it can no longer be moved. The knife will be in its initial position. This can be verified by viewing the position of the knife blade indicator. Jaws can now be opened. The device is no longer usable after the manual override.